This week on Men Don't Talk.
Ireland is a country based on low self-esteem. So I wrote this bit about, the people that are on the extreme right. I'm not talking like people that vote Leave. That's fine. I'm talking about like Tommy Robinson, like these proper Katie Hopkins, these proper wackos. They all have one thing in common, and that's they're all ugly, right? Because you never see a good-looking right winger, right? I think I'm okay, but anyone that turns around and says to you, "Hey, I'm a nice guy," they're a psychopath. You know what I mean? So I bet you like Ted Bundy was like, "Hey, I'm a really good guy," let's go into the woods. What happens is all these other influencers are all in the same WhatsApp group, and they'll all comment on it, so it drives up the traffic on the ad. Therefore, it justifies the fees from like it's all a scam because they're not happy. You know what I mean? Like we need attention because you just like we all want attention, especially comedians. Jesus, you know what I mean? Like that's the most insane, narcissistic. But it's about going back to my first point, which is awareness of it.
So this week, guys, Ben, you've got a guest for us. We're intro in 1 second just to tell the listeners we're going to be talking. We've got a stand-up comic on, pro stand-up comic, Andrew Ryan, and Ben's going to be intro in just 1 second. Just want to tell people that we're going to be talking about the subject of "Are you a good guy?" We're gonna weigh ourselves about who's the best guy in the room, and the subject of "Are we a good guy?" Okay, Ben, take it away.
Yeah, first, Andy, in Time Out, which is Delhi, next door to where I lived, and Andrew knew the owner, so he always got free shit in there. So he was always in there. I knew all the staff, so I got free coffee too. He won't listen to this, will he?
Oh, I'm listening. Keep going.
No, Ben won't listen.
Oh no, I will. I'll send it to him.
Oh shit! I've never got any free stuff there. Never. Yeah. After a while of going in there and him being in there, he kind of invited me to sit with him and have a coffee and stuff. Got to know him, and after I was on first dates in 2016, he gave me my first ever gig at the District Comedy Club. He wrote a 5-minute set for me, and I learnt it and did it, and it's still the best laugh I've ever had. It's a bit worrying, really. Since he's left Didsbury, he's gone on to much bigger things. He's in demand as a stand-up and an MC in the UK and Ireland, the biggest clubs around as well. I've seen him on TV many times. He's always on programs like Channel 5's Top 20 Best British Biscuits.
What the hell is that?
I've seen you on Channel 5's best things.
I did one of them, I think. I've got 12 TV credits and you're picking out the crap.
It's the only one I watch.
Christ almighty, Ben.
Anyway, great. You love it.
That's all right, man. Good to see you anyway.
We've got to push a bit out of that because I've seen some of your credits as well. Come on, big yourself up as well as down. Come on.
Do you know my biggest credit at the moment is I'm actually the voice of the Irish Postal Service. Wow, so basically, I'm also the voice in Ireland of Domino's Pizza. So Domino's Pizza and the Irish Postal Service, like Domino's, four pizzas for €27. www.dominos.ie, terms and conditions apply. Like I do all that. So I do all that, like chicken pepperoni pizza. Get your, I do all that kind of stuff. But
does that pay well? Does that pay well? That's money for old rope.
I could buy an Adidas Spanish top out of it. Right? No, I think the last TV show I did was in February. I did done quite a lot of TV in Ireland. I did a Six Nations rugby show with a few of the people that won Love Island and a few ex-pro rugby players. But goes out in Irish telly, and then obviously we've had lockdown, so like everything is just sort of stopped now. So I'm. It's kind of like we don't know what's going to happen, I think, with live entertainment. Are we going to be the last to come back in terms of because people have to be next to each other? So, it is a bit of a scary time for our industry, whether our industry is going to come back as strong as it was before. Like you take something like, say, the Didsbury Cricket Club, which has the comedy club that I used to host. If that venue closes, that comedy night is gone. So, the comedy night relies on the actual pub or the hotel or whatever that to stay open. So there's a knock-on effect and a consequence now through all of this. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I think nowadays people are just learning to work different ways, like stuff like online. I released a video. I don't release too much because I don't want to give away my material either, but like just putting stuff out, putting another video out today. I do it every 2 weeks, just put a little snippet out every 2 weeks just to keep you kind of, hey, I'm still here, guys. I still do jokes.
Where
Rather
can
than
people
some
find
people.
that? Where can people
Well,
find
the
that?
first one I did, I got about 150,000 views. And then I thought, oh, that's good. And then the second one I did, I got like 30,000. And then the other one I did, I got 400. Actually going that way.
Andrew, just for our listeners, where would we be able to find you on kind of social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram?
I don't do Twitter because I value my mental health. And I do Instagram at Andrew Ryan Comedy. I'm not amazing on it like some people. I think I went live once and I nearly had a panic attack. And I've got a Facebook page, Andrew Ryan Comedian. That's it. And I just post videos of stand-up and a podcast like this. I'll post it, or I might do something I saw every 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not a constant person on it, the way some people are. I just think sometimes people need to actually. It probably affects people's mental health as well. I think social media massively, especially in our industry. It's like, chill out. We know you're a comedian. You don't have to keep telling us what you have for your breakfast. Like, come on. There's more important things in life.
Unless it's really funny what they had.
Huh?
Unless it's really funny what they
had. Unless it's really funny. I did a gig in Nottingham there in January, and I left the venue to drive back home to St Albans, and there was a wedding venue where it was like a pub that the wedding had taken over for the day to be the wedding venue, and there was a riot on the street, and there was probably 30-40 people in, and the bride was right in the middle of it. Her dress was covered in dirt. Police arrived, the fans arrived, and my car was trapped in the car park as they were surrounding my car. So I sat in my car and filmed it. Now, I never put that up online because I wouldn't put something like that up online because obviously you'd be mortified for the family and what had happened. But about 5 days later, I Googled it just to see if anything happened, and it was in the Nottingham paper, and I had a video footage of it. And the police asked me to send over the video footage. But there's some people that would put that up online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas I wouldn't. I'd be a bit more conscious of, when you ask the question, like, are you a good guy? I'd be a bit like, well, is that a cool thing to do now just to get likes? Because somebody who's planned their best day of their life has now turned out to be probably the worst day of their life. And I'm gonna get likes. How am I gonna feel good about that? You know what I mean? So like, I think when I go online, I do tend to really, really think about the impact of what you're putting out there on, if you're putting a stand-up clip out, yeah, that's fine, because that's what you do. But if you're putting something else out, just have a think about, like, filming someone else on the street. Just have a think about, stuff like that. I think some people are very quick to, oh, look at this guy in a restaurant shouting at the staff. Yeah, but you don't know what's going on in his life that makes him shout at the staff,
Yeah, 100%.
But if you were sent that video in a WhatsApp group or via email or via social media, would you perhaps watch it and enjoy it?
Oh, I'd watch it.
Yeah, but sent you that wedding video. For example,
I'd watch it because anything I get sent in WhatsApp, I watch anyway. And you're like, for God's, why did he think I was going to enjoy that? But deep down, you're like, I did enjoy it though. You know what I mean?
WhatsApp's fair game. WhatsApp's fair game.
Well, yeah. Once you're not shaming people,
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? It does make me laugh though when you see. There was a thing on the other. I can't remember what I was looking at, but there was a thing on the other day. There was a party, and it was just a conga. Do you remember when people used to do congas at parties? Yeah. And in the conga, most of the people had cameras on themselves. And I'm thinking, what's the whole point? The whole idea of a conga is put your hand on someone's hips and dance soft. But look at me, I'm doing the conga. I used to be embarrassed being in a conga. It was the last thing you wanted to do when you were in a party. And people are videoing themselves like, hey.
Yeah, it's just, I just find it's gone a bit, we don't need to know everything. Sometimes less is more,
Yeah.
I find it quite slippery. Facebook, actually, I've not been in it for a long time, but we're trying to set it up for the podcast. That's all. So, but the videos now, the fact that you get a video playing straight away, and they've even got subtitles on it, so you don't even want to. It's like a car crash, isn't it? Like you don't even want to look at it, but then you end up scrolling, and there's another one, and it starts straight away. It's really, really slippery.
Yeah. You could be in a massive cul-de-sac there and not be able to get out of it.
Yeah.
You could be in that stream for an hour a day, like.
Yeah, like the YouTube wormholes people go on.
Yeah. So I just balance it, like that's what I do. I just try and balance it. I don't want to overkill it either, like. But
So what's your? You mentioned briefly about some things on mental health there. Do you talk about mental health in your stand-up, and what's your take on kind of like people talking about mental health?
You see, I don't mind it. It's very good that people talk about it, but I think it's about how you go at it. You know what I mean? If there's a couple of people in Ireland now, and it's their USP. It's literally like they're on every TV show because they're brave enough to speak out, and you're like, mate, you just felt down after your football team lost. Like that's not depression. Do you know what I mean? I'll tell you what depression is. Depression is, I mean, I thankfully touch wood. Like I've never would. I mean, in life, you're always like up and down and stuff like that, but like never not being able to get out of the bed. You know what I mean? So I just think, you can ram it down people's throats too much as well, which becomes a bit of a turn off. It's like anything. I just think if you give people some basic principles, get people to check in on yourself. That's all it is. You can be. I think self-awareness is really key. Like, are you looking after yourself? Very simple stuff. Are you eating? Are you eating okay? Are you showering? Are you washing? You know what I mean? People can let all that slide and they can drink more and all that kind of stuff. But I think if you can kind of just check in and manage your day and say, right, today I'm going to achieve 2 or 3 things, and I just think that. If people become a little bit more self-aware of themselves, they can actually it's actually easier to manage yourself, but it's about being that aware. If I'm having a bad day, I know I'm having a bad day. Whereas maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I wouldn't have known I was having a bad day. You know what I mean? I think so. The awareness has grown, but not everyone's suicidal. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, it's very small percentage, but obviously it's very serious percentage. But like, I think if everyone has a bit of a balance, and also have people that can check in. Yeah, like if I met up with Ben now in a coffee shop and I hadn't seen him for 3 weeks, but he hadn't shaved for 3 weeks and his clothes were dirty. You know what I mean? Like his clothes were dirty and he seemed like he was smelling of alcohol. I'd be like, whoa, you okay, man? You know what I mean? Like, you got to have people to check in with you. So I think it's just stuff like that. If you do the basics right in anything, you'll be okay.
I think it's interesting though what you're saying there, because that's not shaving and not changing your clothes and showering for 3 weeks. That's like I'm drinking more. That's me every day on lockdown.
Well, we are in exceptional circumstances. That's okay.
I've not worn underpants for 3 days.
Well, what sort of a podcast is this, lads? Like,
just he is in a van. Ask him why.
Yeah.
Are you in a van? Are you actually in a van?
I am actually in a van.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I spend a lot of time in this van.
He's the Pied Piper of podcasts.
I'm the van man.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I've got a bit of a camper van style thing, and I even work in it during the day because I've got kids in the house, and the missus is furloughed, so she's looking after the kids, and I have to dive in here for a few hours, get some work done. But it's a good little pod space because they'll wake the babies up if I'm there.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
If I'm yeah. Dalla, you had a question there.
No, I was just going to ask Andy. You seem like a very kind of upbeat guy. One thing I've noticed about my Irish friends is, I don't know whether it's a cultural thing, but you're very strong-minded. There's not a lot of things that can mentally break down a lot of my Irish friends. I can't speak for the whole of Ireland, but is it something that was inherently in you? Is it something that you've learned over time? Is it something that's just in your DNA?
Well, I'm very I'd be very internally opinionated, but not publicly opinionated. You know what I mean? Like. So I have a lot of strong views on things, but I'd never share them. That kind of way, because it's like sometimes like I think being Irish as well as like we are a bit of Ireland is a country based on low self-esteem. You know what I mean? Like the country has low self-esteem because we were ruled for 800 years by Britain. Ye left. We built the country up. We got a bit of money. We blew it, and now we're back to kind of like we kind of find it hard, and we're always the underdog, like we're we're not the best at football, and we're good at rugby and all this kind of stuff, and we're a small country, and said, oh, we did well, kind of thing. Like, but I think this generation of people like me now are a little bit more sort of like, no, you can. We've kind of trying to overcome that, that kind of thing. But I would be quite like, I won't take much shit, like, you know what I mean. But if I met somebody and I didn't like their company for whatever reason, 99% of the time I probably wouldn't tell them to their face, like most people. You know what I mean? But I would. I never told you. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there's a reason why I'm here tonight, Ben, and I need to tell you a few things. But,
he did leave as well, Ben, shortly afterwards, didn't he?
He actually left the area, Ben. So,
I'll give you an example now, right? I'm writing a bit of material at the moment, and it's I'm quite excited about it, but I know it's quite a strong opinionated piece. So if I give you an example, I go, the last year and a half in Britain has been Brexit. Now it's COVID-19, conspiracy theorists, Donald Trump, America, right? I'm not really political, but so I wrote this bit about, the people that are on the extreme right. I'm not talking like people that vote leave. That's fine. I'm talking about like Tommy Robinson, like these proper Katie Hopkins, these proper wackos. They all have one thing in common, and that's they're all ugly. Right? Because you never see a good-looking right-winger, right? So, like, if you had like, I don't know, Cameron Diaz come out and go, hey, I think Brexit's good, I'd be like, I can get on board on that. You know what I mean? But none of them is good-looking. Have you ever? That's the thing. I'm looking at all these people at all these marches that you see on the BBC, and you think every single one of them looks the same. They're not good-looking people. So I think to myself. Then I looked at the extreme left, like the proper left. Now I'm not talking like Jeremy Corbyn left. I'm talking even further left. People that like won't even pay for a house. Like people that like, people that do weed and like live in, that are like, what you call them. They go and break into houses and they get squatters' rights, because they're all freedom and peace. Yeah. They're all ugly as well. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then the point is, how am I going to make this funny? And the thing is, like, because I'm judging people based on the look, but then the people on the far right judge people based on what they look like. You know what I mean? So I'm working on this bit at the moment about like, like people need to say, like, all these people on the far right, they're ugly as fuck. So like, so I'm now working on this bit. So that's quite, people could be a bit like, oh, that's a bit harsh. And I'm going, well, it's an observation. Do you know what I mean? Like, I decide what I find is attractive or not. Like, so
nobody thinks they're on the far right or the far left, probably either. So they all think they're out of the group, so they probably laugh at it more.
That's
maybe.
why
I don't know.
I remember I used to have a bit when I lived in Manchester. I said, do scallies know that they're scallies?
yeah.
Like, do they know that they're scallies? Like?
Yeah.
Because they must know the word scally. Chat. So to them, what is a scally and a chav? Like,
I once did a Dexter bit about like who would you wipe out in society if you had the opportunity or whatever. And one of my definitions was, and I did this in a pub in Salford as well. It's like anyone who wears tracksuit bottoms in a pub needs to just go. They need to go from society. And I look down, there's two guys sat in the corner wearing tracksuit bottoms. Like, fucking hell! Like, it's just
you need to read your audience there, mate. The keywords were Salford and
yeah. Got out of it alive, but yeah.
It's crazy.
That's Warrington for you. The gig I did in Warrington, fucking hell, it's horrible.
Was it?
Yeah. One of the comedians said, friendly bit. He said, "What's your name, mate?" You fuck off.
One of those, wasn't it? Was it fuck hyphen off?
Yeah.
Just that show. Oh, it was rough. It was rough. It was a rough one.
In Warrington, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was just outside Warrington, and it's one of them gigs. When you go to watch your mate, and you're thinking, like, "Fuck, I'm not doing it."
Oh, you'd be like, "I'll come down. He might chuck you on for 10," and then you arrive and you go, "Do not even chuck me on for 1." I am out of here.
I did it and died. And
you didn't.
What I did?
You didn't.
What, did you die? Well, I mean, what a comedian thinks a death is actually fine for other people as well. Like, you know what I mean? So like, we always are worst case scenario, though. You know what I mean?
No, it was a tough crowd. They're all absolutely shit faced.
Were they?
I think they've been drinking all day. It's a Wednesday. They've all been on it all day. Must be
God, a Wednesday in Warrington.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is that's pretty intense.
Tough gig, that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he was great. He was honestly, he was great. I was there, like I said, and it was hard. You know, it was just. But he was what do you call it? He did a lot better than he's making out. It was.
Yeah.
I thought he did well.
You always do a lot better than you think.
Yeah. If he was shit at the set, he was just shit, mate. You died on your ass, but he didn't. He was good.
It sounds like some sort of life self-esteem thing. Isn't it? Something your counsellor telling you that you're better than you are and all this. Like, you don't listen to those negative voices. I'm interested there, Andrew. You seem the stuff you was talking about what should I do, what shouldn't I do, and all that. Like, do you think quite a bit about that kind of stuff when you're on stage? Because our theme is, are we a good guy? Are you conscious of being a good guy as well as funny?
Yeah, in everyday life, like, is that what you're saying?
Well, both, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I suppose I try and first and foremost, I wouldn't really try and screw anyone over, like, especially, I don't know, I just feel a little bit of a strong moral compass, like, you know what I mean? So, like, I try and help people out, but it's a bit like, I can help you out, yeah, but, like, I'm not paying your mortgage, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mind helping you out and being nice to you, but it comes a point where it's like, I can't keep doing everything for you. Do you know what I mean? I've got my own life to lead. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you're a bit friendly with people and just be a little bit nice, but for me, it's kind of like, I think I'm okay. But anyone that turns around and says to you, "Hey, I'm a nice guy," they're a psychopath. You know what I mean? So like, I bet you like Ted Bundy was like, "Hey, I'm a really good guy," like. Let's go into the woods. You know what I mean? Like, so
Hitler was definitely like, "Eva, I am one of the good guys."
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Like, I think the key thing is self-awareness, and I think that there's a lot of self-awareness like missing. Like, for example, I remember what did I do? I replied to a tweet on Twitter about 5 or 6 years ago, and someone said, this was it, like, "Hey guys, I'm going to London next week, and I'm just wondering, has anyone got any nice restaurants they could recommend?" I was like, "You go to fucking London." Like,
there's 11
what part of London? Like, you're just telling us you're going to London. Like, someone else was like, "Anyone know any places to park in London?" I'm like, what?
Andy, you're like me, mate. I get like that with Facebook.
Like,
I'm watching Demolition Man today. Just watch it. Just watch it.
Yeah. Oh, the people that tell you what's wrong with this country. I go, tell you what's wrong. It's people like you telling other people what you fucking don't know. So like, I just a bit like, so I kind of like decided to opt out of getting engaged in any of that kind of stuff, because it's just like, there's people's like ways of getting attention, really. You know what I mean? So just kind of leave it. Just try and be nice and stay away from them. That's what I do.
Absolutely. You mentioned about having a strong moral compass there, just in kind of how you go about life and reality. Who were your role models growing up? Who did you look to as for guidance? Who kind of showed you a good path to be a good guy?
Eric Cantona.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
Eric Cantona was my first male role model.
Was it after or before he kicked the fella?
Oh, he could do no wrong. Like, yeah, Eric Cantona was probably when I was about 12. He was, oh man, to this day I still adore him, like, because he's obviously a big Man United fan, and to me he did 5 years at United, I think 92 to 97, 98, and I just loved him. And
what was it about his character, his personality, his persona?
Just the calmness of him, like, I do what I want, you know what I mean? Like, I can do what I want. And, I'm cock of the north or whatever, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll do whatever I want. I've got my collar up. And it was just like, wow, the arrogance of him. Like, the fact that, he can't even get into the French national team. And, like, he's at Manchester, like, playing with all these kids, and he's just flicking here, flicking there. It was like the arrogant. And he looked like he was, like, 2 weekends away from being obese. You know what I mean? Like, if he went to McDonald's, you think he's on a slippery slope here. He was just always... And people say, like, that's a bit weird, like, but when you're 12 and all you're into is football, the massive impact on people's life, like, you know what I mean? I think I really liked Dermot Morgan, who played Father Ted in Father Ted. He was, but before Father Ted, he had a radio show called Scrap Saturday, and that was the first thing I ever listened to, and he used to do impressions. and I loved his impressions. His stand-up wasn't the most modern, but his impressions and his characters were great. But when you're young, you know, you're very easily influenced. I was never into cartoons, never into like sci-fi or anything like that. I was never into like academia. It was always kind of sport and comedy, you know, not even into actors. Like I wouldn't even say I have a favorite actor, you know, like, you know, people go, oh, anything he's in, I love it. You know what I mean? It's like, not really. It's just like, to me, it's just whatever you're going through your life at a time, certain people will impact that period. So like now I'm 38. So who do I really like now at the moment? Like, I really like a guy called Eddie Pepperell. He's younger than me and he's a golfer, but I find his wit and his sarcasm. You know, I don't know that much about the guy, but every time I see him, I go, "Oh, there's something about him that's kind of like he's like I couldn't care." You know, I'm not buying into this status and this sort of stuff. So there's you through phases of different people all the time. You know.
Yeah.
So
Is a part of being a good guy and in kind of holding those thoughts and opinions in part of the appeal of what you like about those people like Eric Cantona and that particular comedian? Because I think I'm the same with comedians like Patrice O'Neill. They say outlandish things like Frankie Boyle, and I love the fact that they can get away with it. Could I get away with it? I don't know.
Well, you see, this is the thing. This is the thing. Like you're gonna have if you. The thing I think about Frankie Boyle is he's a phenomenal comedian. Like if you've got a very unlikable act, as in like your act is harsh, your jokes have to be unbelievably good to carry that. Yeah. So if you're a very, very likable comedian and your jokes are okay, you'll still do very well because you're likable. Do you know what I mean? Like Jimmy Carr Frankie Boyle will come out and tell you that he will murder your grandmother, and people would start laughing, but he backs it up with quality.
Yeah.
So there's a trade-off there. Like, I do give opinions on stage and stuff like that. Like, but I'll always make sure that towards the end of it is like the joke on me. It's just that I don't think audiences and people want to be told how to think. You know, like at the end of the day, like if people want to vote for Labour, vote for Labour. If you want to vote for the Tories, vote for the Tories. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they shouldn't be told how to live their life. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't like the preachiness with some people. Like a lot of hypocrisy, especially with men out there, like in virtue signaling. And like, I'll give you an example. Like in 2016, when like David Bowie died, I knew someone, and they were like, for 5 days, were like, David Bowie died. I can't believe it. I grew up listening. I said, mate, I've known you for 20 years. You never even mentioned him. You know what I mean? He was playing in London last year, and you never even went. Like,
yeah.
You know, like it's like all of a sudden now I didn't realize these people had such, because it's just, and then they get attention for a few days, and then they wait till the next person dies, and then they're all, you know what I mean? I'm like, the way you reacted to the last person dying, you should be in therapy. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of bullshit, like, you know, and I think just keeping it in makes you. I let people, I suppose, you know, make their own rods for their own backs, if you know what I mean. Like I tend not to. There's some people that would pipe up and start digging at them. I think you're better off just leaving it, because you're only going to draw trouble on yourself, you know.
And you stand up, you do a brilliant bit about ISIS coming to Belfast, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that? You don't have to.
Yeah. So basically, I had this vid that just went mental. Like, I had the leaders of Sinn Féin in Ireland talking about it and everything.
No way.
Yeah. It was so weird. I all came from a friend of mine who's a catastrophizer. Like, you know, if it's, you know, you're like, oh, what day is today? Monday. And you're like, oh, every Monday is shit. You know, these negative people, like, you know. And I just said something about going to Belfast, and he went, oh, just be careful, man. You know, ISIS have been bombing London. Like, and I was just like, what? It's like, you can't live your life like that. And then the idea of like, what would happen if ISIS went to Belfast, like foreign terrorism in the capital of European terrorism, like, you know. So I just wrote a whole bit about it, and I thought it'd be a unique scenario. I thought, like, if ISIS went to Belfast, it would bring both communities in Northern Ireland together, because it's foreign terrorism, like, you know, and no one ever thinks of. See, I find mainland Britain, like England, Scotland and Wales, they don't really care much about Northern Ireland, you know what I mean? Because you could have 5 car bombs go off in Northern Ireland tonight, I can guarantee it will not be on the news. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, it was just a little sort of like, and the whole bit was about Belfast coming out of it looking good, because everyone's used to digging at Belfast, you know what I mean? Digging at it, like, you know, because of its past and history. Whereas I was like, if ISIS came over, they're probably the best people to deal with it. You know what I mean? Give them some kudos. You know what I mean? At least use their past to their advantage. So it went wild, and I was giving opinions. You know, like I was giving opinions on it, but you've got to give it in a way that you're not alienating people that disagree with you as well. You know, because there's some people that, you know, they really create this angst. You know, and it's kind of like, I don't know, my personality doesn't suit that. You know what I mean? Like, I like to go to bed at night, like, sleeping, not worried about waking up tomorrow to 150,000 Facebook messages saying that everyone thought should be dead. You know?
Yeah.
I don't really think that's cool for anyone. If you're going looking for the trouble as well, there's something wrong with you, like, as well. You know what I mean? Just give your opinions, but keep them in a way that you're not deliberately upsetting people.
Absolutely. So, main question of the day, Andy: are you a good guy? What is a good guy?
Yeah, no, I'll talk about the bit actually, because I did a bit of research and watched a bit that you did. It might have been a couple of years ago, it might be an old bit, but I was really interested in that, especially because you were talking about maybe you were doing some reading at some stage about, you know, trying to become a better person.
Yeah.
There was a couple of books about chimp management and The Secret.
Oh yeah.
So where did that come from? Is that kind of real stuff? Were you reading for self-betterment and stuff, or?
Yeah, I came across a couple of books and I was like, oh, these seems quite interesting. So I read the book called The Secret, and in chapter 2 it said, if you want to live until you're 150 years old, just visualize it. And I went, this is for me. This is the male version of women that are into star signs. And I just went like, this is going to be insane. So I read it, and you know what? I actually got some good little bits about it. It's about attraction and visualization and positivity. Some of it was absolutely loopy. But some of it I did like. And then I read a book called A Chimp Paradox, which is about the voices in your head. So you've got like the chimp, which is the impulsive, reactionary, I'm hungry, get me some food quick, where the human voice then is like, no, let's make sure we shop properly, get vegetables, get water, so we're eating right. You know, it's about balancing the impulses in your head. You know, like, you know, oh, you know, I've got to go somewhere tomorrow morning, but I want a pint. Well, the chimp is saying have the pint, but the human is like, don't, because you've got to drive tomorrow and it's safer and all that. So it's about managing your head. And I wrote a joke about it saying like, oh, I read The Chimp Paradox, blah, blah, blah. So like, if I'm hungry now and I see a Mars bar on the table and a glass of water, because I read the book, I now drink the water straight after I've eaten a Mars bar. You know what I mean? And I just thought like some of the stuff in this book is just so difficult to get. Like, there's a guy in the UK called Paul McKenna, and he's written so many books on self-help, and I just think it's the biggest con. Like, he wrote 4 books on confidence, right? The first book he wrote was, I can give you total flying confidence. Then he said, I can give you instant confidence. Then he wrote, I can give you supreme self-confidence. And then the last one he wrote was, I can give you confidence. And I used to have this bit about it. I was like, is he actually losing confidence in the type of confidence? But if like, why do you need to write 4 books on confidence?
Yeah.
Because it's a scam.
Yeah.
It's all preying into people's insecurities. Like, I think, you know, people feel they're constantly missing out. And I think a lot of the time mental health problems come from the fear of missing out. Like, you know what I mean? Because they look at Instagram and they see blokes, you know, with 6-packs and the nice car and all that. Like, trust me, these people are not as happy as you do. And I know that because I know a few people on Instagram who are big Instagrammers, and it's all a con. I know people who push products on Instagram, and so if they're doing an ad on Instagram because they're an influencer, so they're advertising, say, Nike tracksuit, and Nike are giving them 200 quid. What happens is, all these other influencers are all in the same WhatsApp group, and they'll all comment on it, so it drives up the traffic on the ad. Therefore, it justifies the fees from Nike. It's all a scam because they're not happy. You know what I mean? Like, we need attention because you just like we all want attention, especially comedians. Jesus, you know what I mean? Like, that's the most insane, narcissistic. But it's about going back to my first point, which is awareness of it. You know what I mean? Being the aware. There's certain times when I would try and get a lot of attention because I want to do well at my job or do well at comedy, and I want to push myself to, you know. But it's about the boundary of doing it. And I think social media, people cross over that boundary because they don't have the self-awareness. And I think sometimes it actually comes across quite sad, if you know what I mean, because there seems to be something missing in their life, you know. But I would never call them out on it. I just, in my head, I get fucking furious with them. But I think I'm going off topic here, lads.
No,
that's
you're on.
good.
You're on.
No, absolutely. I think you're speaking for a lot of people out there, because I've only been on social media 12 months myself, and honestly, the life I had before, I loved it, and the life I had after social media is still okay, but I have to block off all that negative crap and just the stuff that you mentioned before.
Yeah, I always say to people starting off in comedy as well. When I was starting off, like 11 years ago, I started in Manchester, and I started at the same time as like Joe Lycett and who else was around with me. There was quite a few gang of us, and there was always people we would see at the open spot nights. You know, when you're doing an open spot or whatever, beat the gong in Manchester on a Monday or something like that. And you'd say to them, you would be a very good comedian if you had a little bit more awareness about yourself, you know? Just rein it in a bit, like, because, you know, comedy attracts the best and weirdest people. Like, I think 95% of comedians are the nicest people I've ever met. Genuinely. There's 5%, like in any industry, will annoy you, but like, I think everything comes down to a little bit of awareness, you know, and a little bit more of think before you act and speak, you know what I mean? Just that, rein in that little bit of impulsiveness that people have, you know what I mean? So, and you can actually manage it a little bit better, you know what I mean? And you won't feel so bad about your decisions, or, you know, so.
So if it's comedy or if it's anything else in life, people listening, how do you think and how have you gained self-awareness? How do you do that?
By making mistakes as well, you know what I mean? Like, and being aware that you're making mistakes, you know, and I read a few of these books, and it takes you time to reflect. Like, my mum used to always tell me that always review your day in your head. Always review your day. So if you're having brushing your teeth, what review your day. So like, you know, oh, this happened, that happened, and oh, I could have handled that better, or why didn't I do that? I told this person I was going to ring them back and I never did, and they are now probably thinking that I'm an asshole because I didn't ring them back. And you know, it's just kind of like, review your day, said, oh, I did well today, you know, I had fun, I did what I said I was going to do, I was going to be polite, and you kind of build an awareness of other people as well around you, like, you know, am I treating other people correctly, and am I doing the right things for other people, you know? So sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't, like, you know what I mean? But once you get the main bits right, and we always forget to ring people back, you know what I mean, or message people back, or ignore an email, or that's kind of standard. But I think I always review your day. If you review your day, it's a good thing to do, I think.
I think that's great. I think that's a life tip. My missus, I mean, in my relationship, I'm the monkey, and you know, she's the human, and I'm just impulsive, and I've spent too much time on my phone. And she had a go at me, kind of like going back last year or something, about a similar kind of thing. And this is where she caught me, right? And this is extreme to the point where I was watching a YouTube video, and I put my noise-cancelling headphones on, similar to ones that you had on before, and I was using my electric toothbrush with my noise-cancelling headphones in, so I could still watch a YouTube clip while I'm brushing my teeth. And she's like, "That's gone too far. Like, what the fuck are you doing?" Like, the tip that she got from some book was, don't take your smartphone into the bedroom. It's no place for your phone in the bedroom is not a good idea. Now,
I live alone, but smartphone's got to come into the bedroom.
Well, I've tried it, and honestly, my own personal side of thing, I think it's good. I do think it's good. It gives you that time to switch off. But I do like that tip of, while you're doing something mundane like brushing your teeth, reviewing your day or whatever. No, I think that's great.
Yeah, just very simple. It can take 2 minutes, you know, like just review your day, you know. Like, it's just quite simple stuff, you know. And you know, I think it's, you know, like my girlfriend, you know, lives with me in here, and we just, you know, we're going to watch Peaky Blinders tonight now. You know what I mean? So we've got that booked in, and you know what I mean? So she can do her own thing beforehand, and I'll do this, you know what I mean? So then when you go to bed, you know, you made your time together, or you had your laugh and you watched your doc. So when you know, so you go to bed and you go, oh, you know, we had a plan today and we stuck to it, you know. It's always good if you have a plan and you stick to it, because you feel you've completed something, you've achieved something, you know.
Yeah. Any stories about worst gigs, embarrassing shit from going through stand up then? 'Cause
Yeah.
I like the fact that people
This
show
is-
vulnerability like
This
that.
is a gig that I did in Warrington. I'm going to tell you this is a true story. I'm going to tell you a true story.
That's where I'm
And
from.
I ever
sorry,
said
by
that
the way,
if I
for
ever
people,
became successful enough in my life that I was to write a book, this will have its own chapter. So I was just starting to do 20-minute club sets in like the Comedy Store and all those places, and I was probably working 3 weekends a month, and I got invited down to do a birthday party in Warrington, and they were giving me 150 quid for 15 minutes, and I was like, this is amazing. I was still kind of working full time at the time, so I was told that there was going to be an MC there and nicely set up, and you know the guy booking me was a comedian, so I thought, well, if another comedian's running it, it's going to be pretty decent because comedians know, you know, about light, sound, and what's the right thing for a room. I turn up anyway to the venue, and it was like a nightclub, right? And I walk up the stairs, and it was somebody's 30th birthday party. I thought it was their 50th. I thought it was a 50th. So as I get up to the top, there was topless male waiters, right, with trays of chocolate fountains. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm in a nightclub. The party must be like in the function room in a different part of I'm thinking, this isn't what this is, right? So I arrive anyway, and I speak to the guy running it, and he says, oh, come in, I'll show you the room. And I was like, oh, brilliant. So we go in, and there was this microphone in a stand in a nightclub. There's no chairs or anything, just an empty nightclub. And I was like, what's this? He went, so what's going to happen is they're going to come in, they're all going to stand in front of you, and you're going to do 15 minutes. And I went, yeah, fucking what? Now, bear in mind, you know, I wanted the money, you know what I mean? And as a comic, you say yes to things, man. We are the biggest yes people in the world. So anyway, I go out and I have a look at this party, and I realize this is not good. Chaos out there. There's topless waiters, there's women dressed up in bunny outfits. This was like Ascot on heroin. Like, you know, like Grand Aintree on heroin or whatever. Like, so anyway, I get called. They're coming in now to watch the stand-up, and I'm thinking this is going to be vile. But 15 people turn up. There's about 150 people at this party. About 15 people come into the side room, like the nightclub, to watch the stand-up. I do about 6 minutes. I get 6 minutes, and then a guy walks up on stage, and he just squares up to me and puts his nose up on my nose, and he's going, "You what, mate? You what, mate? You what, mate?" And I was like, "I'm gonna go now." So I put the microphone down and I thought, this is really bad. So they all leave, and I'm thinking, what the hell has gone on here? Like, I was actually kind of like shaking. Like, I was very new as well, like, you know. So I was like, oh my god, like. So they go back into this party. I'm just standing in this empty nightclub with the booker, and I say, can I have my money? And he's like, I'll go and get your money now. 20 minutes later, he hadn't come back with my money. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm just being shafted here. Like, there's no way I couldn't walk back out. No, bear in mind, only 15, 20 people saw it. Like, you know what I mean? So it would have been fine. So then, you're not going to believe what happened then. Then there was a bell rang, and everyone had to watch the screen. So I'm at the back of a venue watching people. So, you know, I'm like at the door. The guy proposes to his girlfriend. So it was the girl's 30th, and the guy proposes to him through a screen. So it's a video of their journey of their relationship, right? And I'm standing there and I still haven't been paid, like. And all I see as this is happening is the small red fire alarm box, you know, the small red. And I think to myself, and next to the fire alarm box there's a broom. And I'm thinking, if I break this glass, I'm going to ruin their engagement. And they will always have that. They will always. Do you remember when we got engaged and the alarm went off? And I'm thinking, if I break this glass now, I'm not going to get paid. But if I break the glass, I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm standing there and I'm thinking to myself, if I break the glass, so I then decide, how am I going to get out? So I walk back into the nightclub and I look at a fire exit, and I open the fire exit, and it's like to like stairs and stuff. And I didn't know where the stairs led to, and I was running out of time. So I'm thinking, but if I break that, do I have to go that way? And I'm thinking, they're going to know it's me, like, because, you know, eventually I'm standing there and thinking, he proposes. She says yes. They're all screaming. I'm thinking, oh God, it's disgusting. I'm thinking, you know, when you look at someone and you go, he's probably on his second marriage and she's probably on her first marriage. You know that kind of way, right? Anyway, they come over and I get paid. They got me money, and I walk out of the building. Obviously, I didn't do that, like, you know. But I regret not doing it now. But I'll never ever forget. Never forget. 6 minutes into a gig, a guy squares up to me on stage, and then I have to wait for my money after. And it was the nastiest atmosphere, you know. And it was just rough.
Oh, the story is you have a gig in Warrington.
Oh, I did the pyramid last year. You know, the Warrington pyramid. They did a comedy store there. Like, I did a joke there about the IRA.
Oh.
I just said something like, I didn't think, and I just said, oh, it's nice to be in Warrington. The last time I was here, the last time I knew about Warrington, you were all in the news. I wonder what happened. Something like that, anyway. Something like that.
Oh.
But it wasn't about a point. I was a bit drunk, you know. And, I would say 85-90% of them laughed, but then 2% of them emailed my website. So I think, you know, well, you know, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Mick, you say the wrong things sometimes. Imagine like you couldn't imagine though. The worst thing you could do is go to a gig in Salford and tell people with tracksuits to get out. Like that's the worst thing.
Isn't that a successful gig though? What do you put that down to? If people are complaining, but 90% of the audience were laughing, like what's your thoughts on the moralistic side of stand-up and all that kind of thing? Then some people would go, "Oh, that was a top gig," then, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would. Yeah, it just depends what they're into and what they're looking for out of the audience. Like I've said the wrong thing maybe 7 or 8 times where I've gone, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that," and I known straight away I shouldn't have said that. You know, right. And that's just the way it is. You know, like I wouldn't be. You know, I've said the wrong things and stuff, but. I was in Qatar in Doha, and I said to an Qatarian lady at a gig, I said, it's very easy to buy clothes for the men here, isn't it? It's just all white, like. You know what I mean? Which I thought was quite funny joke. Like, it's easy. What are you going to get him? Just some white. You know, like, and the women just black. You know, like for the. I thought it was really funny, and I got a laugh on the first night. Second night, got a laugh. Third night, got told by the promoter, you can't do that joke. You know, so you know, I think for me, I don't. Some people go, "Oh, I take a groan as good as a laugh." I wouldn't really do that, you know. I wouldn't say it just to. I wouldn't say things just to. If you piss people off, I get it, but. Sometimes it's quite fun to piss people off as well if they're idiots, like. But it's, you know, what do they say? Isn't it? Offense is taken, not given, isn't it? Is that the phrase? You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Like I wrote a really good joke last week that I would never ever do on stage.
Would you do it on a podcast?
I'll tell you the joke, right? I would clearly never do it. I just thought the NHS is working really well. It's amazing what they can do, and they work a little bit harder. Like, you know what I mean? Right? Now, obviously, that's a ridiculous joke, right? That's a ridiculous joke. And I would never do that because that's very disrespectful to the NHS.
But
my point is that they're all working 12 hours. So there you go. That should be your standard now.
Just so people know what's your website email that you can.
Yeah.
I don't worry about it because even my missus she works for the NHS. And we were joking the other day about how much more work they could do if they weren't making TikTok videos.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
That's in the hospital, isn't
it? Yeah.
She
well, you know, like I wouldn't never say that on stage because that would be the wrong. But there's some people that would say it, you know.
Yeah.
Like Frank Boyle could probably get away with it.
Yeah, I just think
because it's expected of him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering what if in some ways there's like a good guy kind of thing, because the other one that jumps out is Jim Jeffries. Now, Jim Jeffries always said that he would see comics do jokes that and go, "Oh, you can't say that, mate," but know in his head, I could say it. I've seen an interview where he's like, "I could say that, mate, but you can't say that. You won't get away with it." And whether there's also like a likability within stand-up and within life as well, where there's almost like a good guy aura that you can get away with a bit more sometimes than that as well. I think that's possibly true.
I think if they know your personality and they know what you're about, and that takes years to build up through exposure. Like Bill Burr now would be someone now that I know he can say the most ridiculous things, but I know he doesn't mean it.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Because I've learned about his personality by listening to his podcast, and he says, oh, let's blow up cruise ships, and then 2 seconds later, I don't even read books. I mean, what do I know? He gives you a horrible thing, and then he justifies it by going, look, I know I'm an idiot, and you're like, well, if you go, well, he says he's an idiot. I mean, he's only clearly joking because his awareness is so, like, you see what I mean? Like, he's very self-aware because he'll say something really controversial, and then he just has this little get out clause, which is he just laughs. He's like, God, I'm such an idiot.
Yeah.
But then people can't have a go at you then if you're admitting to it.
It's like I think Jerry Seinfeld talked about is like the way the Louis CK does stuff is like tap dancing over laser beams, and what they actually love then is someone whose craft is so good that actually they're missing all the pitfalls by just that much all the time. It's watching real craft, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's an American guy. Oh, he does the short one. He used to go out with Amy Schumer, and he had this joke where it was like, it was absolutely brutal, like about school shootings in America, and it was just something about how it was really good for the population to be reduced and all this, like, and it was just so bad. But he stops and he looks at the crowd and he went, you know what you came for. You know, as if to say, like, you bought a ticket for this, so don't complain. Like, and then the audience laughed because he was saying to the audience, like, don't turn up at a Formula One event and if you don't like cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it takes a long time to get that personality across for you to get away with it. And the demeanor has to suit it as well, you know? It all has to work. The physics of it all has to work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Andy, do you have any comedy heroes? One of our regular questions is in regards to kind of comedy in men or just your role models. Who are your top two comedians?
Oh, Tommy Tiernan is my favourite. I mean, again, it's like music, you know? You go through a phase with different people, like... I'm really big into Bob Mortimer.
Oh, okay, yes.
I know he's not a stand-up comic per se.
Hilarious,
but even just, I mean, I'm not on Twitter, but I found out that he does a thing called Train Guy. He basically goes, hey, call, hey, we need to be in Success City. We need to meet up and have a, you know. And I just find him, like, even from Shooting Stars, like, and if you ever watch him on Would I Lie to You, he's the best guest on Would I Lie to You.
Yeah.
But he's just a very naturally funny guy, you know, and he's in his 50s, and he's just still pure funny. And I like people like Sean Locke, Bob Mortimer. I'm not into the whole, hey guys, I'm 24 and my life is stressful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I like Bill Bailey, I like Tommy Tiernan, I like people that are much older than me because they're like, look, I'm doing what I'm good at. I've got 30, 40 years experience of this, and I'm just brilliant at it. And it's like, I'm not really, you know, I see some acts and I go, you're going to be really good. I see some comedians and I go, oh my God, you're going to be such a great comedian in about 7 years. You know what I mean? So, and I think a lot of the new comedians now, they're getting too much exposure. Don't get me wrong, I would love a bit more exposure, but like, I probably feel I'm more ready now than I've ever been. Whereas because I've learned my trade, you know, like
Channel 5 will come to you when they come back.
But you know what I mean, Channel 5, yeah, but like
top 20 worst lockdown
podcasts.
I find sometimes you just have to expose yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why. You've just said it. You've just said what I was going to say there, mate.
Sorry.
No, I like Tommy Tiernan, who's in his 50s. Bill Burr's in his 50s. Bob Mortimer, who's in his 50s. I like people that are just really good at really good. You know, Jerry Seinfeld, I like him. I really like him. I like the younger ones as well, you know, but I think with age, I Louis CK released a special 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that? No, I downloaded it. It was like £6 or £7, and I watched it. And he just, you know, he comes out and he just says, "Hey, anyone have a bad year last year or something like that?" Like, and He just did stand-up, just did straight stand-up. And I never once thought about what had happened to him while I was just watching the stand-up. I didn't particularly think it was amazing, like I've never been a massive, I don't know, just a little bit on the wrong side of seediness for me, some of the stand-up, just a bit, a bit rude, a bit too rude, it's a bit like, you don't need to go there with that, like, kind of thing, but I watched it, I thought it was good, and he'll just build a new life for himself now somewhere else, you know what I mean, so, in a different space, but the older comics, like, are much, like...
Have you got any tips for people to watch in lockdown? Yeah, Netflix or anything. Doesn't have to be comedy, whatever. Entertainment, really.
I'm just trying to think now. There's a great documentary on BBC 4 called Bob Monkhouse, The Last Stand.
Oh, wow.
Basically, Bob Monkhouse does a gig in London in 2005. I watched it the other night. You get on the iPlayer, and in the audience is full of comedians. Adam Bloom, David Williams, the guys from who else is in there? Adam Bloom, the guys from the League of Gentlemen.
Yeah, and Bob Monkhouse is one of my favourites.
Yeah, you think Bob Monkhouse is like a safe pair of quiz show hands, right?
Yeah.
But he was so rude.
Yes.
And he talked about his life writing for Tommy Cooper and writing for all these other comics. And the audience is just sitting there and they're all comics. People like Dominic Holland, Adam Bloom, who I work with. And he's talking about like that was the era and that's like the modern comedy, the old comedy. But what an interesting 1 hour show.
Yeah,
because it shows.
I'm definitely going to watch that.
And I think as an emerging stand-up, right, someone that's doing stand-up, I think that's a great thing to watch.
Yeah.
Watch the older guy do the older material to the newer people.
Yeah.
And I just think
sounds awesome.
Yeah, and on Netflix, I'd highly recommend. Who's I watch on Netflix that I really like? I mean, you've probably seen it. I mean, I watch all of Bill Burr's stuff all the time. I think he's great. I'm sure you all watch all that. But I'm just trying. Ben, Chris Kent, don't you, Ben? The Irish guy from Cork as well.
I've seen Chris Kent.
Yeah, he's got a special release on Irish RTE, a 1 hour special in the big theatre. Yeah, you can watch it for free. Like he's got a special release.
Good for him, actually.
Yeah, so just type in Chris Kent into Google and it'll come up, But
he's a very funny man.
Yeah, he's
very
great.
funny.
He lives across the road from me, like.
Wow.
Yeah, we have social distancing coffees.
Yep, my mate comes round here. I leave him a coffee at the bottom of the stairs, and then I stand on my balcony. He stands at the bottom of the balcony. We have a chat there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You doing it?
You got to get creative on social distancing.
Yeah, it is another 3 weeks. I'd say we'll be coming back a bit. I'd say. I don't know. Crap, But.
We always ask guests, who are your confidants when life does go a bit shitty? Who do you speak to?
My missus, because it's very hard not to. Why are you in such a bad mood? I don't speak to you. You know what I mean? My missus, and I also speak to a good friend of mine in Ireland. We ring each other. Well, we speak to each other every week, but every so often, like we talk a lot. He's a good guy. He's very well able to. He's a bit like me. He's like. There's a little bit of him that's like, oh, if you need help, get help. But there's also a little bit like, come on, you don't need help for that. Like, that's just basic living, you know what I mean? So, but other than that, like, I only got like a couple of people. But, I've always been okay. Like, I've always been able to manage myself, you know what I mean? And I think, when my mum passed away recently last year, I thought like, oh, this is going to get pretty bad for me, you know what I mean? And I never drank for 2 months after she died, and I went running every day, and I tried to counterattack what I thought was coming, because you can go down, and especially the winter was coming as well, you know what I mean? So you're cold and drinking, and I ended up doing the complete opposite and never been fitter, So, but it was, and that comes down to the awareness of knowing what's going to happen here as well. So how can you balance it? You know what I mean? You still have your down periods, but it's about, okay, but it's also okay to be down. You know what I mean? It's also okay to have a bad day. Like, you can't have a good day all the time. Like, so it's like, oh, I review my day. You know what? I've had a bit of a lazy day, a bit of a crappy day. I didn't eat great. I was just a bit didn't read. Spent a lot of time on my phone, sitting on the sofa watching crap telly. that's actually okay too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once you're not like a fucking doing that 2 weeks in a row every day for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like self-care, isn't it? Like sometimes it's okay to do nothing, like, but it's about being aware that doing nothing every day for 2 weeks is good as well. You know what I mean?
It's not kicking yourself over it. If you do a couple of things, a couple of days where you don't do anything, don't kick yourself over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's okay. If you're doing it every day, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Andy, one thing you mention a lot in your answers, not that I'm analysing you, is I've noticed a running theme about self-awareness and awareness. When was that trigger point for you? When did that happen for you in your life?
When I was 25 years of age, I was the victim of fraud.
Wow.
In Manchester, yeah. And long story short, but the guy got 3 years in prison. And I basically rented an apartment in Castlefield and was living there and all fine. And while I was at work, the estate agent was coming around to the flat and he was renting the flat out to loads of other people. And then when I came home one day from work, I remember it was like the 1st of November, so it was the 1st of the month. 7 people turned up to move in. And they'd paid him a month's deposit and a month's rent. And then I went over to the office and they'd done a runner. So they were on Crime Watch, and there was anyway. He'd gone to Liverpool, Manchester, Nottingham. He got caught,
my goodness.
and he was sent to 3 years in prison. He was trialed in Liverpool actually, and because he pleaded guilty, they didn't use my case, you know. So I was kind of made a bit, not homeless, but like I had to go and sleep on a guy's friend of mine's sofa down in Charlton for 3 weeks until I got another place. And when I actually looked back on it, the signs were there, you know. I never checked this out, and I never did that, and do you know what I mean? And I just felt I'd let myself down a little bit, like.
Yeah.
You live
So
in
I lost about $2,000 at the time, which is a lot of money, and also back in 2004, it's probably worth about $2,500 now. You know what I mean? $3,000 now, but like, I just felt embarrassed, you know, like, you know, when something happens to you, like you're a victim of something, you're just embarrassed. So I think
would you say that was the trigger that changed everything for you in terms of your character personality?
Yeah.
How you handle things?
Yeah, so it can be a bit standoffish, you know, not committed. Like anytime I sign a contract now, I actually read the terms and conditions. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it gives you a little like trust issues with people as well. Do you know what I mean? Because this is a very sophisticated scam. It's in the paper, like. It was in the papers in the Liverpool Echo. It was in.
Oh my goodness.
It was on the BBC, and he got released from prison, and he went and did it again, and he got sentenced again to 19 months in London, and he's out of prison now again. But he still owes me the money, and I don't know where he is, like, you know. But I've let it go. But it was a bit like, oh, obviously, you know, when you're trying to find somewhere to live and you're a victim, and it wasn't just me, he had an office with other people, and he knew somebody that I knew, so he was like, I just move in, it's fine. And I'll come around next week with the contract. He came around. He wanted to do everything by cash. But I was 23 at the time, like, and I'd never rented an apartment before. Do you know what I mean? So like the signs were there. It was immaturity. Do you know what I mean? And lack of, I suppose, life skills and how would you call it? Streetwise. You know, I didn't own a laptop. We used to go to the internet cafes back then, you know what I mean? And I had a Nokia phone, so I didn't have Google on me, you know, to figure this out, like, I had to go by instinct. So ever since then, I've been a bit more sort of like aware of what I'm doing, you know.
Just a final question for me, and it's around that, and it might be that is the answer anyway, but what would you say to a younger you? We often talk about what you'd say to a younger you to steer you through life. What would be your advice?
Read the sport.
Go on your gut feeling more. My gut feeling with that thing that happened wasn't right. I ignored it. And also, although I'll be honest with you, since I was about 20, 21, I kind of always done what's right for me rather than what other people think of me. You know what I mean? And I think that's been pretty good for me, you know, like I do what I love now, you know, so I'm kind of, you know, I'm one of the 2% people in the world that are actually love going to work, you know what I mean? So jealous. So it's kind of like, if my career was the best that it was ever going to be, like playing comedy stores, a little bit of TV here and there, I'd still take it hands down.
Can I just give you some praise? Actually, you gave
give
me
me some praise.
Yeah, you gave me the only job anyone's ever given me, paid job since I've had brain injury. You're the only person who's ever given me a job.
Oh, what gig was that?
Taking flyers out. Right.
Oh, you were flying for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we got you down to Didsbury. You did it 3 or 4 times, didn't you, Ben?
Yeah.
You used to come down. We used to put you on. Like, we used to, obviously we'd have 3 acts on, but whenever you come down, I just put him on, because he was there, and we just like, it's always nice to get stage time, like, and put him on for 5-10 minutes. So it was good.
Yeah, no, I used to walk miles delivering flyers for the Comedy Cup.
You did, mate, and you got your stage time, mate.
Yeah,
mate.
Yeah,
got your stage time.
Win-win. Yeah,
win-win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Andy, I think you've done a really good job in terms of like teaching most of us a new lesson just about self-awareness and how it's important in terms of how it impacts your life. So yeah, just thanks for that from my perspective. Really appreciate that, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and I hope it came across all right.
No, that was great.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's always difficult for a guest, I think, as well. When we talk about mental health and comedy, it's that blend, isn't it? But no, I think it's cracking. Really good. The 2 books that you mentioned, if anyone wants to read them, what was the chimp one called? Chimp Paradox.
The chimp paradox. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't really work for Stephen Gerrard because he still slipped. But
Yeah. And the other one, which is a bit mental, but there's actually a good few things in it. It's called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. It's a very popular book. I'd say a lot of people read it.
I'll look for that one.
And how do we follow it? Just give us anyone a reminder.
On my Instagram at Andrew Ryan Comedy, and Facebook is Andrew Ryan Comedian.
Great stuff. Right, thank you very much. I'm sure.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself. Take care,
guys.
everyone. All the best. Take care. Bye.
Cheers, Andrew. Take care.